There are 5 main reasons why your resume is actually hurting your chances of landing the job of your dreams. And the 5th one is by far the most important and the one that I see most candidates struggle with in my job as the owner and CEO of a national employment agency that works with some of the biggest companies around the world. Welcome everybody to episode 2 of the Recruiting Heroes Show. My name is Colin Whittington. I'm so excited to dive into the topic of resume writing with you today and really focus on the 5 biggest mistakes that I see candidates make every single day and why so many people are struggling in this current challenging job market that we're in right now. Probably the toughest job market in at least the last 10, maybe even 20, 30, 40 years. And resumes are by far the most important thing to get you started in the job search process, and one that can really hold you back if your resume is not up to par. So first of all, why should you even listen to me? Who am I? Like I said, my name is Colin Whittington. I'm the owner and CEO of Recruiting Heroes, LLC. We are a national employment agency who specialize in helping veterans and first responders with their career transition to the private sector. We've also had the honor of working with numerous large and small companies that are some of the biggest ones and most important ones in the world, including L3Harris, Allied Universal Security, and Wegmans. These are just some of the many companies that we've worked with. I've had the chance to talk with recruiters and hiring managers at all these companies and to see what they really look for in candidates, and specifically what on a resume they look for and what things kind of shy them away from a candidate based on the mistakes that they see candidates making every single day. So I'm really excited to talk about these 5 mistakes. Again, the 5th one is the most important, so stick around to see that. And at the very end, I'm also going to give 5 actionable items and advice on how to make your resume stand out in this challenging job market. Of course, always, please like and subscribe to this channel so that I know it's helping you and that we can help as many people as possible find the career of their dreams. But diving right in with number 1, one of the main problems I see candidates make on a daily basis is that their resume is far too long. I get a chance to read dozens, maybe even hundreds of resumes every single day, and it's pretty common for me to see resumes that are 4, 5, even longer as far as pages go. In fact, the longest resume I've ever received was one from a young man who had a 28-page resume. And this isn't somebody who's had decades of experience and had high level of roles. This young guy had about 4 years of work experience and for whatever reason believed that putting every single thing he ever had done or thought of doing into his resume was a good idea, and it was 28 pages long. Of course, that's a pretty drastic extreme, but even the resumes that are 4 or 5 pages long are really hurting those candidates' chances of landing a career that they really are passionate about. A recent study showed that an average recruiter spends about 7.4 seconds reviewing a resume before deciding if they want to move on with that candidate or disqualify him or her from the background process. This means you have 7.4 seconds to really make a strong impact on that recruiter and to convince him or her that you deserve to move forward in the hiring process. So it really is critical to make every single second count. I know from my experience reading thousands of resumes over the years, if I see a resume come in and it's 6 pages long, I am immediately frustrated and overwhelmed by it. And to be honest with you, that initial reaction is incredibly hard for me to overcome. I obviously want to give every candidate a fair chance and to not just judge the length of a resume on whether or not a candidate is suitable. But you know as well as I do that initial reaction you have on somebody, it's very tough to overcome, especially for a recruiter who's looking at, again, dozens or hundreds of resumes a day. Keeping your resume to 2 pages nowadays is the standard. Back in the day, it used to be 1 page where, God forbid, you couldn't go past 1 page. Now, 2 pages is the new standard, and one I really agree with. I think 1 page makes it a little tough to really highlight who you are as a candidate and to fit all your awesome experience in there. So go for 2 pages. If you have to go to 3, that might be acceptable for a really senior level role. But for the most part, stick to 2 pages and you'll be good to go. Number 2, This kind of goes in line with number one, but resume, a lot of candidates are putting every single job they've ever had on their resume. So I've had candidates who have had 30 years of experience. They've gotten to the rank of vice president, president, manager, you name it, and they're still including their job working at McDonald's 30 years ago when they were a teenager. Trust me when I tell you, recruiters and hiring managers do not care about a job you've had over 2 or 3 decades ago. What they really care about are the roles you've had in the last 10 years. Those are the most critical, and most likely those are also the most important and most senior roles that you have had in your career as well. So instead of writing about every single job you've ever had, what I do for the candidates who I help with their resumes is focus on the roles you've had in the last 10 years and to really dive deep into those roles and to focus on the achievements and job duties and other things you've accomplished in those roles. You might ask, what about the roles I've had before that? Some of them are pretty cool as well. Should I just ignore them? Absolutely not. What I recommend to my candidates is to have a additional jobs section. And here you can list all the jobs you've had in your career, going back as far as you like. But what I do is simply have them put the job title, the company's name, and the date of employment. And you can go through and list all the jobs you've had. But again, don't go into detail about every single role you've had. Simply list them out so that people can see the vast experience that you've had. But again, don't keep going with every job you've had going back to the Stone Ages, all right? Focus on the last 10 years. All right, then third mistake I see candidates making all the time is they use paragraph format on their resumes. Again, I mentioned it once before, and I'll say it probably a few more times. The average recruiter spends only about 7.4 seconds looking at your resume. If a recruiter opens up your resume and sees massive blocks of text, their first reaction, I know that's my first reaction, is, oh God, do I need to read all that? And that's not the reaction that you want a recruiter to have when he or she looks at your resume. You want them to be able to look at your resume and very quickly pull out the most important things from your resume. As I mentioned before, recruiters are often working 20, 30 plus roles at a given time. And each role has very unique requirements that the recruiters need to find candidates that have that background. So they're looking for very specific things on your resume to make the initial assessment whether or not you are a strong candidate for the role. And you want to make it as easy as possible for them to find that answer in your resume. So the only place you should really have a paragraph is your executive summary at the top of your resume. And this should be about 4 to 5 sentences highlighting who you are as a candidate and why you are a great fit for that role. But other than that, your skills, your work experience, your education, your certifications, your awards, all those things should be bullet points and not in block text paragraph format. All right, so make sure to only use bullet points going forward after your executive summary. That way recruiters can immediately see what they're looking for and pull out the most vital information that they can. Number 4, this one is definitely second most important, but probably very close to being the most important, and that is candidates are not using data or metrics in their resume. So many resumes that I receive from police officers, veterans, civilians, all over the place, their resume looks like a generic job description for the job that they're currently holding. I'll get resumes from police officers and they'll say, responded to emergency calls for service. Great, that's awesome. I'm glad you did that. I thank you for your service. But about 800,000 or so other police officers do the same exact thing every single day, right? So that doesn't really set you apart. It doesn't have to be a drastic change, but even something as simple as this, saying, I patrolled a 3 square mile area with approximately 35,000 residents and responded to approximately 13 calls for service a day, including robberies, homicides, domestic assaults, and larcenies. That simple change from just saying I responded to emergency calls for service to saying how big your sector was, how many residents you served, how many calls for service you typically handle, That small adjustment really makes a huge difference and can really allow a civilian employer who's never done your job before to understand, oh, wow, that's what he or she did. That's pretty cool. And to highlight how you can be a great fit for their role. So use data as much as possible. If you supervise people, how many do you supervise? If you manage a unit and you have a budget every single year, how big was your budget? Have you implemented programs or initiatives? How many did you initiate, and what were they about? How much money have you raised? How many arrests did you have in a given year? What was your closure rate for cases you were investigating? These are all things that you should try to include on your resume to highlight not just what you did, but how you did it, and why why you specifically are a good fit for this role, and how you were able to impact your previous roles, and through that will now be able to impact a new organization in a new role. All right, number 5, and again, this is the most important mistake that I see candidates make every single day, and you probably heard it before and you'll probably hear it again, but candidates are not tailoring their resume for the job they are applying for. I'll talk to candidates every single day who tell me, hey Colin, I applied to 30 jobs yesterday. And my reaction is that these candidates are obviously just submitting one resume to every job they apply to. It could be a recruiter job, it could be a director of security job, it could be a hairstylist, it could be any job out there. They're going to submit the same resume. And let me tell you, there is no single resume that's a perfect fit for every job, because every single job has its own unique characteristics and their unique requirements that companies are looking for. You've probably by now heard about applicant tracking systems, right? Some people lose sleep over it. I don't think they're that big of a deal, but they are something to consider and to be aware of. So my company has an applicant tracking system, right? It's a great way for us to stay organized, for us to get our job out there to numerous job boards, and for my recruiters to really keep track of their candidates and the jobs that they are working on. We will write up a job description in our applicant tracking system. When we hit submit, the job goes out to about 30 different job boards with the ones that we have partnerships with. When you apply on it, whether it be on Indeed, LinkedIn, Dice, you name it, the resume comes to us in our applicant tracking system. Our applicant tracking system then scans your resume, scans the job description, and says, hey Colin, this person is a 73% match, right? And it will do that for every resume we receive for every job. It will then also rank the candidates from best fit to worst fit. My team and I, we take pride in making sure that we read every resume, because applicant tracking systems absolutely make mistakes all the time. There are times when the person they said was the best was not even close to suitable, and somebody who scored poorly was a phenomenal candidate for that role. So we read every resume that we receive. That is not necessarily the case with every other company. Again, recruiters are busy, they're overworked, and most of them work on commission, where they get paid based on how many placements they make. So if they get 100 resumes for one role, and the applicant tracking system says, hey, these are the top 10 candidates, those are the resumes the recruiter will look at, and from those top 10, he or she will decide which candidates to call for an interview. So if you're number 11 on the list, or God forbid, number 80, you'll never get seen. Your resume will never get seen by human eyes in companies where they don't pride themselves on reading every resume. So tailor your resume. I can't say it enough. Even small changes can make a huge difference. If on your resume, let's say that you have on there that you coached new rookie officers that came to the agency. That's awesome. Being an FTO is super important. But now let's say you're applying for a job where they want somebody who has mentored new employees with a department, right? So they use mentored and employees, whereas you use coached and rookie or new officer or whatever have you. That small difference will dock points off of your resume when it's scanned by an applicant tracking system. It sounds ridiculous, but that's just the way it is. So what you'll want to do is go into your resume and change the wording on your resume to match that of the job description. Of course, never lie. I never advocate somebody lying on their resume. But if a company's looking for a certain skill and you have that skill, you need to put that on your resume, and you need to put it on the resume in the format and style that these companies have it on their job description. That way you get credit for that background and that experience and score higher, increasing your chances that you'll get an interview. So again, that is the most important tip. If that's all you take away from this video, it's that tailor your resume. I would much rather have you apply to just 5 jobs a day, but those 5 be really tailored and really thought out, versus you applying for 50 jobs a day, but you're just throwing your resume everywhere, hoping that something will stick. Because honestly, when you do that, chucking your resume into a black hole, and you're not going to get any traction, and you're going to get frustrated and burnt out very fast. So tailor your resume. So I hope those 5 tips were useful for you. If they were, please do smash the like button. If you have other tips for job seekers, please put it in the comments below. There are so many other things that are important on a resume, but I wanted to focus on the top 5. But if you have more, do share it below. And of course, subscribe to this channel if you don't mind. That would be awesome. It would make my day. And now really quickly to my 5 top tips on how to make quick adjustments to your resume to help you stand out over other candidates, all right? Again, number 5 is going to be the most important, of course. So starting with number 1, use a professional resume template. There's no reason why, unless you're really tech and computer savvy, why you should be designing your own template. There are so many free resources out there. You don't have to pay for it. Look at Word, look at Google, look at all kind of other sites. They have endless free resume templates, and a lot of them look fantastic. I will say that I have created my own resume template, which I absolutely love. I use my candidates, and it's been really successful. That template is, I have it for you for free on my website. It's recruitingheroesllc.com. Go to the candidate services section, scroll down, and it's going to be right there. You can download it and use that template for free. I hope you do. It's a beautiful template. It's worked really well for a lot of candidates, okay? But again, use a professional template. It shouldn't be one that has a bunch of different colors and graphs and everything else on there. Just keep your picture off of there. Keep it very professional looking and streamlined. That way you stand out to the recruiter and don't overwhelm them with a bunch of random graphs and drawings and whatever else, okay? Keep it professional. Number 2, use action verbs. This resume should scream confidence. It should show that you are the most qualified person for this job, and every single sentence and every bullet point should be another example of why you are the perfect fit for this role. You know, don't waste time saying, I'm a hard worker, or a team player, or a dedicated employee. Those things really don't mean anything, right? And the recruiter looking at that is not going to put any weight into those. So use words and action verbs that really show what you've done, how you've managed teams, how you've led this, how you've developed initiatives, and whatever else you've done. Use strong action verbs to bring home the point that you are the best candidate for that role. Number 3, use reverse chronological order when listing your work experience. It's kind of crazy to me. I'll have VPs and high-level managers on their resume have their first job they ever had in their life. And that's going to be the first thing they see on the resume. And it goes down from there into their most current role, way at the bottom, down at page 2 or 3. That's crazy, right? Again, recruiters spend 7.4 seconds looking at your resume. A good chunk of those seconds will be on your first page, and a very good chunk of those seconds will be at the very top of your resume. So you want to have your current or most recent job first and go backwards from there. Again, recruiters really only care about the job you've had in the last decade or so. So highlight those and focus on those. Number 4, highlight education and certifications that you've achieved or accomplished or completed. All right. I'm not a big fan of having high school on there. If that's all you have, you can leave the education off. But if you have advanced degrees, a bachelor's, master's, PhD, if you're really, really smart, you should have those on there. Certifications are huge now as well. I'm slowly seeing a trend where companies seem to put more stock and more weight onto certifications than they are in degrees, which is fantastic because there's so many classes and certifications that are more tailored to the roles you're applying for. They're much cheaper and they're just much better. So if you have great training and certifications that you've done, put them on your resume. Now, anyone listening who's a veteran or first responder, you've probably completed, hundreds of different classes and trainings. And I'm absolutely not saying that you should put them all on your resume, right? When I was in law enforcement, I got picked to become a beanbag shotgun operator. And it was cool. It was a great class. I loved having the beanbag shotgun as one of my tools. But if I was applying for a software engineer job, would having that on my resume be any use to me and my dreams of becoming a software engineer? Not at all. Companies don't care about that, right? But if I had a leadership role, leadership class, or if I have taken classes on software engineering, or whatever else similar to the tech industry, those are things I should highlight. So think about your training and see which one of those really fit into the role you're applying for. So again, tailor your resume. If you're applying for a tech job one day, but then a security job another day, your certifications and trainings may change, and they should change, because you want to focus on the ones that are going to help you get the job. And that's the main priority of a resume, is to make sure that the recruiter knows you are the best fit for the job and that he or she calls you for an interview. That's when you know your resume is in a good spot. And then number 5, the most important tip. I'm going to go back again to number 5 of the most common mistakes that I see, but number 5 for the biggest tip on how to improve your resume is to tailor it. Again, tailor your resume for the job you're applying for. I can say it until I'm blue in the face, and candidates will still not do it. I know it takes time. I know it's not as easy as simply using the same resume for everything, but you have to tailor your resume. That's really, in this modern day, that's the only way that it's going to work, unless you have a personal connection with a company. If you're simply applying for a job and hoping to get picked for an interview, the only way to do that successfully is to tailor your resume. If you're still feeling overwhelmed with the idea of writing a resume and not getting much traction with your current resume, I can help. Recruiting Heroes, all right? So one of the things that we do, and probably my favorite part of our business, is helping candidates with their career transition to the private sector. We are professional resume writers, and we know what civilian employers at these large and even small companies are looking for, and we can articulate your skill set that is going to help you stand out and land jobs much faster, and also land higher paying jobs as well. So go to our website, go to recruitingheroesllc.com, and go to our candidate services section to see all the offerings we have with resume writing, LinkedIn, and a few other things as well. If you're in a little bit of a budget, that's fine. I totally get it. I was in the same spot you were for quite a while. All right. So I have another resource for you. I actually wrote a book last year. It's called Beyond the Thin Blue Line. While it is focused on a law enforcement background, the tips and strategies in this book will help any job seeker, whether you're a first responder, veteran, or a regular civilian. All right. I talk about resume writing, LinkedIn optimization. I literally give you step-by-step instructions on how to use your LinkedIn, job interviewing techniques, salary negotiation techniques, and so much more. The ebook of this is like $3. This paperback is only about $10. So get yourself a copy today. And what's really cool, I'm still offering this. I've done it for 6 months, and I'm probably going to do it forever. Anybody who buys this book and shares a social media post about it will get 50% off any Recruiting Heroes services. So definitely get that, share a post, and you'll save hundreds of dollars on these services that we offer. So that's some tidbit for you really quick. But I hope you learned something today. If you have other suggestions on topics for this video content, let me know. If you have tips or strategies for other job seekers, put in the comments below. I would love for this to become a really engaging community where we can help each other, highlight job opportunities, highlight tips and strategies that can help each other. Because this job market, like I said, it's tough. It's a really tough job market, and I want to see you all succeed in 2025 and beyond. So quickly like and subscribe to my channel, and have a great rest of your day. And I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Stay safe, y'all. Bye.